Notice to the public, if you wish to address the council, please complete the public wishing to address the council form located at either end of the counter and give it to either the chairman or the council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. All comments must be addressed to the council as a whole. Addressing individual council members or staff is not allowed. Speakers should be courteous in their choice of words and actions, and comments shall be limited to the issue and cannot involve individuals or staff-related matters. All cell phones and electronic devices used for communicating should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. I call to order the Budget and Finance Committee, and I'll have a invocation by Mr. Carl Harding and Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Heavenly Father, by the means of the Holy Spirit, oh God, this is a great day that you have us to be assembled here. And I must say, oh God, that I'm so happy to see all the faces and my colleagues and the friends and the administration here, oh God, with the blessings that you have us here to take care of the affairs of Terrebonne Parish. Oh God, we ask that you use your divine intervention to have us have wisdom, knowledge, and understanding and go forward with the best procedures that we can have for the people of this particular parish, oh God. We ask you to bless us in your darling son Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Charlie, may we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Champagne, Mr. Hamner,
Here.
Mr. Babin, Ms. Chauvin, Mr. Trustclair, Mr. Pledger,
Here.
Mr. Harding,
Here.
Mr. Voisin, Mr. Amity. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you, Ms. Charlie. Item number 1, resolution concurring with recommendation of parish president to award bid number 22-S/P-74 surplus sale of adjudicated property located at 213 Lyle Street, 100% to Kaina McFarland. Moved by Mr. Clayton Wazan, second by Mr. Kevin Champagne. Ms. Kim Chauvin?
Okay, my only question is when we're doing stuff like this, and I'm noticing it's to an investor group, are we asking them what their plans are, or are they upkeeping problems? Because I'm seeing in several of the District 8 ones, I've sent out an email and asked if they would be upkeeping, like, the grass and stuff. We have neighbors that in these vicinities, and so if they come in and cut the grass once a month, you have your neighbors that are going to be quite aggravated and doing nuisance and abatement. It's just going to keep rolling over. So how do we deal with that type of stuff? Like when we have these investor groups coming in to bid on properties on surplus and having them take care of it. Anybody? Okay.
Ms. New?
Yes, ma'am. There's no real way to prevent someone from bidding on this property who we think is not going to take care of it as an investment. The law provides that surplus property has to be sold to the highest bidder. So these types of properties go to the highest bidder who's willing to pay the highest amount. And unfortunately, the only way we can regulate them is through the nuisance abatement department.
You're good, Ms. Chauvin?
Yeah, it answers the question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Neal. Members, vote your machines. Vote is 8-1. Motion passes. Item number 2, resolution concurring with recommendation of parish president to award bid number 22-S/P-80 rebid surplus sale of adjudicated property located at 108 Jane Street, 100% to Jeremy Voisin. Moved by Mr. Clayton Voisin, second by Mr. Carl Harding. Seeing no lights, members, vote your machines. Motion passes 8-1. Item number 3, resolution concurring with recommendation of Parish President to award bid number 23-SP-42 rebid surplus sale of adjudicated property located at 149 Calumet Street, 24.75% to Deshante Cole. Moved by Mr. John Amady, second by Mr. Clayton Wazan. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. Vote is 9-0. Motion carries. Resolution concurring with recommendation of Parish President to award bid number 23-SP-56 surplus sale of adjudicated property located at 305 McKinley Street, 100% to Joseph Mitchell. Moved by Mr. Carl Harding. Second by Mr. Steve Trosclair. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. The vote is 8-0. Item number 5, resolution concurring with recommendation of Parish President to award bid number 23-SP-57 surplus sale of adjudicated property located at 129 Tulane Street, 100% to Ivy Wallace. Moved by Mr. Carl Harding. Second by Mr. Steve Trosclair. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. Vote is 9-0. Item number 6, concurring with the recommendation of Parish President to award bid number 23-SP-560 surplus sale of adjudicated property located at 149 Walnut Street, 100% to Elias Duplantis. Moved by Mr. John Amady, second by Mr. Kevin Champon. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. Vote is 9-0. Item number 7, concurring with the recommendation of the Parish President to award bid number 23-SP-5664 surplus sale of adjudicated property located at 319 Ashland Street, 100% to Jose Roman Murcia. Moved by Mr. Danny Babin. Second by Mr. John Amady. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. Vote is 9-0. Item number 8, concurring with the recommendation of Parish President to award bid number 23-SP-567 surplus sale of adjudicated property located at 104 Old Oak, 100% to Don Coulion. Moved by Mr. Steve Trosclair, second by Mr. Who's that? Who seconded that? All right, Mr. John Amady. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. Vote is 9-0. Item number 9, item number 9, concurring with the recommendation of Parish President to award bid number 23-SP-571 surplus sale of adjudicated property located at 109 Montague Street, 100% to Jeremy Wazan. Moved by Mr. Steve Trosclair, second by Mr. Carl Harding. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. Vote is 9-0. Item number 10, concurring with the recommendation of Parish President to award bid number 23-SP-572 surplus sale of adjudicated property located at 111 Montague Street, 99.45% to Elias Duplantis. Moved by Mr. Steve Trosclair, second by Mr. Carl Harding. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. Vote is 8-0. Item number 11, concurring with the recommendation of the Parish President to award bid number 23-SP-579 surplus sale of adjudicated property located at 113 Daisy Street, 58% to Ann Lovell. Moved by Mr. Carl Harding. Second by Mr. Danny Babin. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. Vote is 9-0. Item number 12, concurring with recommendation of the parish president to award bid number 23-SP-580, surplus sale of adjudicated property located at 113 Burwood Street, 9.9% to James Cantrell. Moved by Mr. Danny Babin, second by Mr. Kevin Champagne. Seeing the lights, members vote your machines. Vote is 9-0. Item number 13, concurring with the recommendation of the parish president to award bid number 23-SP-570, surplus sale of adjudicated property located at 2577 South Madison Road, 100% to Brandon Abear. Moved by Mr. Steve Trustclair, second by Mr. Carl Harding. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. Vote is 9-0. Item number 14, concurring with the recommendation of parish president to award bid number 23-SP-81, surplus sale of adjudicated property located at Gussie Bayou, 1.79% to Gregory Sinak. Moved by Ms. Kim Chauvin, second by Mr. Carl Harding. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. Oh, got a light? All right. Votes 9-0. Mr. Babin?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that these 14 items that we just sold, it's not a lot of money, but it brought in $82,600 if you add all of this up. And it also takes the parish's liability off for cutting the grass. Now, it does put it on the responsibility of the person that bought it, and nuisance abatement will have to, keep that up if somebody reports it. But again, this is $82,600 that brings into Terrebonne Parish, and it relinquishes us the liability of keeping it up. So just thought I'd mention that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Item number 15, concurring with parish administration to reject the bids received for the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government system-wide line repairs due to Hurricane Ida and receive authorization to re-advertise. Moved by Mr. Danny Babin, second by Ms. Kim Chauvin. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. Votes 9-0. Item number 16, authorizing and approving Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government recovery proposal, setting forth the approval of said proposed recovery projects for the submittal to OCD and authorizing and approving the subsequent submittal of applications to OCD to obtain the CDBG-DR funds under the approved programs. Moved by Mr. Danny Babin, second by Mr. Carl Harding. Ms. Chauvin?
Yeah, if I'm looking at this correctly, in the backup, the listing of the projects is activate the bayous and stuff like that. I have no clue what that means. The activate the bayous, what else is there? Support seafood industry phase 2. I mean, is this in a list of order that this is coming?
So the first question, the activate the bayous, so there was a email that I think went out last week. There might have been 2 that had some more additional information on what these projects would be. The biggest thing with the activate the bayous is it's going to allow for some dredging, some cleanup, bank stabilization, and some freshwater diversion that'll then lead into possibly some kayak launches, some public boat launches, and fishing piers.
Freshwater diversion where?
We identified right now, I think we identified 2 or 3 different bayou areas. Bayou Terrebonne, I don't remember the other ones, where it would meet that low to moderate income. North Bayou Terrebonne would be the freshwater diversion.
Okay, and is this in a specific order? Because
Alphabetical order.
that's it. So how are you gonna choose which ones you're gonna do?
So we have to put in the application. We're gonna have to sit down and get some better estimated costs to determine how the cost would fit into the allocation, and then that's how it would be turned in.
Okay, one more question. All right, Chris, I had sent you a listing that the 2 meetings that I did concerning CBDG, and you said some of that would go under stormwater master plan. How are you gonna choose what things you're gonna do in stormwater master plan when there's 9 of us here?
So the first part is a stormwater assessment, basically a master plan that assesses our entire existing system to determine areas where we have critical needs, like maybe the infrastructure is outdated or not functioning correctly, or there may be some areas that don't have it. And then in that plan, it will also identify and prioritize the most critical areas. So, and how that's determined, I mean, that's part of the plan itself. I mean, things like, well, which projects impact the most people? Obviously, it's got to be low to moderate, it's got to have benefit to low to moderate income. So those areas will be prioritized. And then the last component of that stormwater master plan would be implementation.
Okay, who's gonna be a part of the process in choosing these things? Because I'm looking at this, and I mean, my first guess would be that stormwater master plan should be at the top of the list, and I get it; it's in alphabetical order. And would I guess in my area, I'm worried about. We've done the levees, we have the pump stations, but now we're going to drown from the inside. I got a number of people that are calling me every time it rains because we have antiquated drainage issues. And I do have a meeting with David Rome. I am going in there to understand how long ago, what's the biggest problems that we have in the area. I guess, I don't understand how we're going to be a part of this process of choosing which one's the money's gonna be spent on. And that's kind of what I want to understand here.
Okay, well, going back to the stormwater master plan, so if that particular project is approved by the state in this first round, then the second round, we have to get deeper into the details than the summary that was sent out to you all last week. So it will identify, okay, this is specifically what that master plan is going to do. And part of it will be whoever is doing that plan is going to have to get with the department heads, the people who, live and breathe this every day, but they'll also be getting with you all for the projects and areas in your districts. They'll be getting with administration and perhaps even, the people, I mean, we got to be mindful of planning fatigue. We don't want people coming out they're going to get, I'm telling you, it's a real thing. But, we need to engage the public on it too, because they're the ones that have the best information. So that would be one way that they would determine what are the specific projects in that stormwater master plan. As far as the list itself goes, I mean, like Candace was saying, I mean, right now we know that there's more projects than the allocation can cover.
Right.
So but these numbers are some of them are specific, like the projects that are very specific, that number is it. But some of these are kind of soft. So if we could adjust the numbers and get them down to where everything can fit, well then great. Then we'll be submitting all of the projects on that list on March 19th. But there might be some that we just can't afford it all.
Okay.
And that's why on the list that you'd sent me and I've received others like it, some of the projects that you all have brought in fit into some of these categories, and some of them are better suited going with another funding source altogether because they wouldn't be deemed eligible under CDBG-DR. So that's what we're looking for too.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the information. Just fighting for my district here.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Ms. Pulaski. Ms. Chauvin, Mr. Badger?
Yeah, so just, and I'd like to get Candace kind of talk about this a little bit also. Um, the first part of this is that we made sure everybody should have received the backup, right? So I want to make sure that everybody got that list that said, let's give them more description based on not having just titles. And hopefully everybody received that and then it was clear. So that was sent on March 6th, according to Robbie, to all council members. So if you didn't get that, that's the first thing we got to make sure you guys know that you received that. And it breaks out, this project is to provide facilities such as kayak launches, boat launches, public fishing piers, in each project we have some of that detail. But I would like Candace to elaborate a little bit on kind of what her and talked about, is that for some of these projects, for example, like in the first allocation with the Finding Your Roots Museum, we're in a process of trying to get them to say the money can be used here. And then there's some other opportunities past that original dollar amount that we could expand upon. And I like, if you could, Candace, kind of elaborate down a little bit.
Candace?
So we know we have the 71 million allocated to us. What's going to happen is we have this estimated cost. We're going to try to dwindle it down to get us to what we have for the total funding. As the state reviews it, they may come back and say this is not going to qualify or this is going to qualify, and we'll be able to reallocate some of those funds. So that's why we're trying to put in here as many possible projects as we can that we believe will be eligible, because it'll be easier to reallocate funding if they've already said, oh, this is an eligible project. So we'll be able to allocate. We also, once we know, go out for bid for certain construction contract stuff, even the planning, the master plans that we have in there. The cost that we have in there may be more, may be less. So it'll also allow us to reallocate those funds. So that's why we're trying to put as many projects in the plan as possible with maybe not as much money as we know is going to be needed, just so that way we have an easier time to allocate it or reallocate it with the state and get it approved.
Thank you, Ms. Candace. Mr. Amity?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Chris, we currently don't have a stormwater master plan or wastewater master plan for the parish?
Go ahead.
We do, but I mean, I know the wastewater master plan needs to be updated. The planning commission had requested that of the previous administration and council. And I could say the same for the stormwater master plan. It's not that we don't have them. It's just like with most master plans, they have to be updated every 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, and that's generally done. We hire an engineer to create that, don't we?
Correct. Usually you procure those services, which is what we'd be doing through this DR money.
Right, and Candace answered my other thing. We just put a bunch of things in there to make the list, and we'll see what sticks. If it meets the criteria, because a lot of people don't realize whenever you're using federal monies, you have to meet very specific criteria on what that money can be spent on. Because I, like Ms. Chauvin, ask for a lot of things for my district when I see money coming through, and they don't always meet the criteria. So, thanks, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Amity. Mr. Pulaski, Mr. Harding?
Yes, I think this has been going on, and a lot of information that has to be disseminated. In that dissemination of the information that's getting out of there, I have to say that sometimes bad information is worse than no information at all. And the full understanding of this, number one, like the program we attended last week, we made applications. A lot of folks that I represent, and some folk are just running and conversating, knowing that I'm a councilman. They actually have a curiosity because they hear this big dollar amount that we have. I think we can clarify some things. I think the first set of money through the process. You know what I mean? We submit, after we submit the OCD, all right, then OCD actually either accepts or reject, and so what's qualifying, and then it sends it back to us. But we have 3 months to actually do that. So we looking at a time frame to get the first monies in around April. then the second set of money that's coming in, we're going through the same process. All right. So the idea for those of you that do not know whether here, out there, or even within the public, the money is not in hand yet. And just like Mr. Amadi was actually saying, it's the fact that these projects, and Ms. Kim, don't be offended because you don't see too much that may be addressed and the prioritizing of it. And just like John and me, I think everyone up here are very, very kind of persistent about serving the people. So, man, I'm in the same boat that you're in. It's just the fact that, you're from down the line and I'm from right here in Homer. But we look at and things like kayaks and that's activate the bayou, that's $5 million. We're looking at small business grants. And those small business grants, and I'm actually getting this off of what Mr. Robbie had sent to me, and we're looking at how the money is actually taken care of. One thing, the information that has been gathered, I know that we're going to have some input in there. I think I would ask questions because we have a dollar amount on here. And so with that dollar amount, we're looking at whether it's downtown, the improvement, what's that, $4 million and $3 million, and activate the bayou, that's an additional $5 million. So if either of these projects come off, then actually I think that we are to have an understanding or some know-how, because as I'm reading here, and I did participate in a lot of the things that Chris gave when this list came out, I wasn't aware of the data, and I'm trusting and believing that this data that is collected and the needs of this data. Of course, Mr. Amade may look at $5 million going in his district, and I may be looking at $3 million going in my district. So I think once that application comes back, we see where we are with the April funding, and also the June funding, the 76 million, I think it is, $76 million. So as we go down the road, and I know I'm a Baptist, we look at activate the bayou, in my opinion, $5 million, and we're talking about recreation. I looked at that that $3 million, and it also associates itself with quality of life. Some things that we look at as quality of life, and based on where you live at, whether you get in a boat and do some kayaking. Some people don't swim. The community center, the relevance of that, and this is my point, not just for some of the I represent 3 recreation districts. When we look at the community centers, I think whenever it comes in, this is my thoughts for quality of life and recreation throughout Terrebonne Parish for those recreation districts that are struggling. I think 3A, they only collect about $180,000, and see if we can actually help them with some of this money that we actually have down Dulac in the Grand Kai area. They've been struggling with their gym and how to help them out, and other areas. So we want to look at this and the quality of life for these actually particular neighborhoods that we see as we go. We go down fishing, and we pass by and we go to Smith Ridge and find out Smith Ridge needs something that in that area too. So when we go forward, we want to prioritize. What is the quality of life? Well, how are we making progress? We have, what's that, the Foucault improvement, and I looked up the definition of that, and there's 2 definitions of it. One we can actually apply some grants where people can actually do their fronts, but really have nothing in the back of it. So are we doing the fronts, allowing them to have money and have nothing behind it? It's what we look like or what we are. And then later on, and we'll find that we're going to give grants, perhaps in the same area, basically to the same people. So we're looking at these people that's going to actually receive something, whether we make it look like we all right, or are we actually really building in the right places. So as I close, I wanted to ask a question, because 40% of it, and I'm unsure, this question came to me, and to be honest with you, I found the answer soon as I got here. And people have asked me the question, said, well, look, if you read on the in the back of it, a lot of this money is coming from HUD. And I have the understanding, and I hope you guys can give the understanding to some of the people. Say, well, look, this is a lot of HUD money. This is community block grant money. That money cannot be used for high rise and Senator Circuit. Mr. Pulaski, could you explain why?
Mr. Pulaski?
Well, this CDBG disaster recovery is HUD money, but it's the disaster recovery component to it that changes things. So when the feds earmarked money for Ida, they said, okay, well, we will go with OCD, the State Office of Community Development, to administer the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funds, of which Terrebonne gets 117 million and other parishes and municipalities get their shares. But the housing side of that money was allocated or was given to the Louisiana Housing Corporation to administer. So it's the Louisiana Housing Corporation that will be the ones responsible for the administering and how that money is to be spent on public housing developments such as the high rise or Senator Circle, working with the Housing Authority and other entities like that in other parishes. And, you know, they also lumped Ida in with Laura and Delta as well. So you've got parishes from Lake Charles to, you know, St. Bernard that are, you know, all in the same process that we are right now. But it cannot, but this 117 million that we're talking about both in both allocations is for resilient community infrastructure or hometown revitalization, which is economic development. It specifically states that it cannot be used for housing or, you know, home repairs, things like that. That's what the Louisiana Housing Corporation will be doing.
And that was my point, to ask that, to explain that, not only to people that's up here and then going forward, because we actually have, 4 hurricanes that we actually basically receiving this money from. And then we have to be mindful as we go forward, and we looking at how we're losing our population, and why some of these neighborhoods that I see that are deteriorating because lack of codes, underserved, low to moderate income, and it's a progression. And if we put the money in the wrong place, these people are still going to leave. The property's not going to look any better. The consolidated government going to be seizing property. Then we're going to have people buying it for less than $1 per thousand. But then that's just only to put that out there to speak up for the people that I know. And then last question, and I'm finished. What part does CSRS play with all of this?
So CSRS is the consulting firm that was procured by Terrebonne Parish to help us with this particular effort as part of our recovery, but also our Main Street Corridor Master Plan. They helped us with our long-term recovery plan. So they've been working with us since early 2022. So they were there at the same public meetings, the 7 for the long-term recovery plan and the 4 that we've had for this one. They've been through it all with us. So they're no strangers to Terrebonne Parish.
Thank you.
And just one more thing, if I may, the facade grant. If we have several programs, both pre-exist or predate Ida in Terrebonne that have facade grants, and I think the Homa Restoration District is also looking at a facade grant program. But as far as the CDBG DR, the facade grant program that could be developed through that money, the applicant would have to meet those requirements of low to moderate income. So, you know, if you have a property owner, no matter where they are in the parish, if they're applying for that grant, if they can afford to fix it up, they're not getting community development block grant disaster recovery money to fix it.
Thanks, Mr. Pulaski. Mr. Harding, are you okay?
Yeah,
Good?
I'm good.
All right, thank you. Candace, would you like to?
Just to highlight two things Mr. Harding brought up and make sure everybody understands it too. So when we talked a little bit earlier about reallocating the funds, that would have to come back to the council for approval because all of it will have to be done by a budget amendment. So once everything gets approved, we'll come here. If we're reallocating it, it would have to come through a budget amendment. So the council will know what is going on with that funding. And I also want to say, just Chris mentioned CSRS was procured by the parish. I want to make sure that we know that we procured it using the federal guidelines for CSRS to be our consultant.
Mr. Bergeron?
I just wanted to comment on the quality of life on the first activate the bayous. It also states this project will also allow for dredging, cleanup, bank stabilization, freshwater diversion, with improved water quality and drainage. So, it's trying to put as much information in there to check as many boxes as we can to say that, it's not just quality of life, but it's also this. So with it having two benefits, we check more boxes. So just make sure everybody understands that too.
Thank you, Mr. Bergeron. Mr. Lirette?
Mr. Bergeron took the words out of my mouth on that one. I didn't get to the button quick enough, but I just want to provide comment on that too. So that particular item checks a lot of needs that we have in Terrebonne Parish for freshwater security, for coastal zone management. We're catching speckled trout at the downtown marina. Shouldn't be able to do that. So we this past summer did highlight a salinity issue and how fragile our current water system is and how it can be. And beyond that, drainage is a huge issue. So again, we look at these projects, how many boxes can we check on, Bayou Terrebonne runs through a lot of districts. So it's one of those high qualifying projects that hopefully could serve a lot of people.
Thank you, Mr. Lirette. Mr. Hamner?
Okay, I might need some help from y'all here. Great list of projects, and I'm real happy to see that the school system made a request for some to help with the career technical. They actually have two big projects that they need help with, and I don't know if it's appropriate at this time to add something on or make a plea for additional. Help me out here because I can.
Question.
Go ahead, Ken.
Are you talking about the South Terrebonne Middle School?
Yes.
That is actually included in there. It should be in the backup that you have. We have the, and I'm looking at it, it doesn't look like it is. I'm sorry. We have the school improvements for the revitalized career education program. We also have, it's there too. They have some funding to complete the construction of the South Terrebonne Middle School.
Let me double check my. I must have missed.
So on page 4, it would have been the most recent one that was sent.
Oh, I must not have gotten that one. So we do have the
Yes, sir.
new South Terrebonne Middle School in there. You have the proposed amount?
One was 3 million and one was 6 million. The career education program was 3 and South Terrebonne Middle School was 6 million.
All right. Well, great. You saved us a lot of time.
All right.
That's it, Mr. Hamner?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Candace. Gonna get Mr. Lee in there for a sec if he needs.
I resent everybody the list from Candace. It should be the top of y'all inboxes and y'all email now. So y'all can go there and see everything. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Robbie. Ms. Chauvin?
Okay, I just had a question. Okay, so the stormwater master plan needs to be updated. The wastewater master plan needs to be updated. I see that you asked for like 1 million for stormwater master plan, and that's gonna include improvements, only $1 million? And so that's kind of worries me, because one, I would wonder how much it's gonna cost to update, and then what's going to be left over for drainage. And the reason that I'm asking this is because I do see some big issues, and I'm sure maybe you probably have them in the Gibson area, whoever's in the Gibson area. But I know in the Bayou areas, we do have some things that are antiquated, like have to be fixed. So I'm wondering, in that million, how much is actually gonna go to drafting the plan and how much is gonna go to improvements. Same for the wastewater master plan, how much is gonna go for drafting and how much is gonna go for the implementation of improvements.
Who wants to answer?
Okay.
Go ahead,
I'll just talk
Candace.
about the number side of it. So, Ms. Chauvin, those numbers right now, again, remember, are not etched in stone. They're
Right.
very soft numbers. Once we determine how it's all going to fit in the plan, and the numbers will change. That's also where, Mr. Bajaran, we're talking about how we would reallocate funding. We want to make sure that the state approves what we're submitting. So if we submit an extreme dollar amount or an extreme low dollar amount, that might affect them approving it. So it's kind of a game with the state when we submit the funding side of it. And it'll allow us to allocate. Also, if we have this stormwater master plan or the wastewater master plan, and we have this plan that says we need to improve the District 8 drainage, we can then take that plan and go look for other federal funding that would allow for us to actually fund it. So sometimes these federal funding and federal grants require you to have a plan. So if it doesn't get in this CDBG DR money, we're gonna go somewhere else and try to find it.
Okay, that answers. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Candace. Good, Kim. Mr. Trustclair.
Yes, I have two things. First thing is, Robbie, on the, it says that the Grand Caillou pump station at the HNC. It's listed, a pump station at the Mitre Gate on Bayou Terrebonne in the HNC at Bayou Grand Caillou. None of that adds up. The way it's worded. Because, Bayou Terrebonne, there's no Mitre Gate in the HNC. And Bayou Terrebonne goes to the HNC, but it doesn't intersect the Bayou Grand Caillou any kind of way. So we may need to reword that. I'm assuming it's for the pump station in Bayou Terrebonne, because that looks like about the monies that are needed for that pump station, but it doesn't have any, that pump station doesn't have anything to do with the HNC and Bayou Grand Caillou.
Ms. Candace.
So we will get the wording corrected.
Okay.
This is the big $56 million pump station that we've been talking about. So all that this is doing is
Okay,
allowing
this is
us.
5.6 million.
It's allowing us to use it for match.
Oh, okay. So this is the one in HNC. It's not the one by Terrebonne.
It's agency.
Okay.
But we'll make sure the wording's correct. So we've applied for capital outlay. We've applied for BRIC, HMGP. We know that there's going to be a matching that's required. So we're putting this in here to be able to do that match.
Okay, no problem. And that leads me to my second question. Some of these is stated in here that they're gonna need matching funds for some of these projects. The one for the school board, are we gonna, or is there any match for that one?
So the one for the school board, we are actually providing them their match.
Okay.
So anything that's in here about a match, it's either a match that we
Well,
need.
that one doesn't say anything about match. That's why I'm asking.
So there was some unmet needs after they had resolved their FEMA public assistance and their insurance allocation, and the savings that they're gonna have with some of their other plans. So we are helping them, if this goes through, to have their match or at least the unfunded part of that project.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Ms. Candace. Thanks, Mr. Trustclair. From the chair, I have a few points I'd like to point out, or things that I've kind of recognized in all this. I think the first question is, I've had a lot of questions and folks out there that have asked me, is there the criteria that's required to receive this funding? Is it public information that it's out there, or do we have it posted? If so, where? Go ahead, Chris.
Well, in the federal guidelines that came in with that money, that, the low to moderate income, the disadvantaged communities, all of that's in there. It's it takes some doing to really get down to it. You know, it's not like a nice summarized, easy to follow. I mean, there's a lot of clicking and a lot of reading that has to go into it to get down to the, you know, the root of it all. But it is in there, and it's part of our requirement that we have to follow it.
Okay, is there a way for us, without it being too cumbersome or too much of a, pain for the folks that are asking me, is there a way we can, have that readily available with all the projects that are being proposed, someone to kind of do that research since we're already there and know where to go, kind of put a link there so the public can basically see what's required, and that'll kind of bring them up to speed and give them, some of the smarter folks that, really want to drill down in it like that, they can find that information. Go ahead, Candace.
Yes, sir. So Chris and I are just looking. We have our tpcg.org/recovery website. So it has the presentation that we did last week. We has the presentation that we've done a couple times. It also has recordings of our public meetings. So a lot of those requirements are discussed several times in those meetings. But we'll see if we can come up with a quick kind of summary of eligibility requirements and post it on that website as well.
Well, that's
And the link.
great if you can,
Yeah.
drill down on it a little bit, but at the same time, me personally, let them read it all if they want to read it.
Yeah, we'll
whatever it
definitely
is, you know.
provide the link. Sometimes when you provide a quick summary, it misleads some things if it doesn't have you. Sometimes you need all of that detail to really know what's happening. So we'll try to get something up there, but we'll definitely put a link to the requirements on that website.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry, Mr. Badger.
So what Candace just said reminded me of something. So I know when I look at the summary that we sent you guys on allocation 2, it pales in comparison to the application that we actually submitted. So there's a lot more detail in the actual application that we have to submit by March 19th. So if everybody hadn't compared both of those two, again, we're trying to give an idea, to give some quick information, quick summary, could be a little misleading. But when it comes to the application, if you hadn't checked out allocation 1, please go check that out because it is very detailed. So just want to throw that out.
Thank you, sir. And that's my next point that I kind of want to touch on. Everybody should understand that in that first allocation, it was 41 million, if I'm correct, 41 million. However, and it's all about perception and verbiage there. However, if whoever's reading this, the reviewer, I should say, that's going to approve this, they might have questions or whatever, and that's where they come back to you guys here at the parish level to figure out details, specifics that might not have been captured in the initial request. However, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's going to cost more, say we just take, for instance, new garbage cans, all right? Whatever if we wanted to put $1 million there, but it was going to cost us more to do it, am I right in the fact that it could cost us more if we find out it costs more, and then they'll have to approve the cost that's, the excess cost, I would say, if that makes sense. If a project is gonna, we have it down for 3 million, okay? If we find out it's gonna cost more, how does that work? Go ahead.
The way it will work, and the way it's worked in the past, at least, let me rephrase it. They're changing it on us almost every day. Once they approve the projects, we assign a cost to it and we come up with a budget plan with the state, the same way that we do the budget here. So anything that comes in more or less would have to be adjusted that way with them and also with the council to do the budget amendment. So if it costs more, they won't necessarily have to go back to look at the detail of the projects. If they've already approved it, they said it meets the qualifications, and you estimated $1 million and it's now 1.5, as long as we can reallocate funding within the allotted amount, they'll be okay with it. They'll approve the changing of the funding, but they don't have to go back and review everything. Did that
Okay.
answer your question?
Yeah, that does answer my
Okay.
question, but I have a follow-up to that. So if it costs 1.1 million, then it winds up costing us 1.5 million. That 0.5, that $500,000, it'll come off the top of the 117 still. It'll just,
Yes, sir.
right.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right.
Yeah, so if a they don't come back and say, oh, we're gonna give you another 500 because it costs more.
Clearly. Get it. Thank you. Also, Kim, be thankful. I'm telling you, be thankful. Because you fight for the shrimp industry, rightfully so, and there's $5 million allocated there for that. So I'm telling you, be thankful. But me, District 1, everybody's fighting for their district. $117 million. And I can look here and say point 5 million was found for my district. That's just hard to swallow, guys. It really is. And I understand what it's for. It's for revitalization, economic development. But in the last redistricting of the maps, commerce and all that, businesses, all that was scratched out of District 1. Quite a bit of it was. I still have some businesses there in my district, but a lot of them have been taken out of my district with the redistricting. So maybe I'm just going to look at it as a thing of, because I don't really have business and where I need economic development in my district. Excuse me, guys. Excuse me. I need us to pay attention, please, guys. I guess because there isn't anything to revitalize in District 1 when it comes to economics, bringing money to this parish, I don't see much there. And I'm trying to understand how that is possible when, if you ride through my district, you'll see there's nothing there. Help me understand, Mr. Badgeron.
So, I guess the first question I'm gonna ask is the same question I've asked of anybody that reaches out to me and says, I don't see something that represents my area or my ethnic background. And to me, when I look at community centers, when I look at small business grants, when I go through the Grand Caillou Pump Station, Head Start classrooms, um, let's see, a permanent housing for human services. Um, some of this stuff is located in specific districts, and other stuff is located. It really doesn't matter where it's located, but it's going to benefit all districts. And so, um, when I look at the project list that I gave you related to your district, a lot of those projects listed were drainage related. I know I've had conversations with some in the past that we're trying to get into the Delta Region Authority, where most municipalities are using that authority to do funding for drainage and for sewage and for water. Just trying to understand, after saying all that, if there is something that you feel like you need that is not listed here, is that something you can provide us? Because we're taking data in since 2020 now, if I'm not mistaken. And that's how we got to this point. So I do believe there are projects that service the entire parish that might be located, for example, when it comes to water. That's gonna be where the water plant is. That's gonna service the entire parish, including a project that in this list that allows us to repair. And we got a better understanding meeting with Mike Sobear today about the problem that we do have with getting water to the east side. Which to me at some point will end up in District 1. So, the conversation I had with somebody that says, well, you have a museum in this area and I don't have a museum in this area. My question to them was, well, what if drainage was identified or water was identified as the major issue in that area? Do we want to not do the water or drainage project so that we can build a facility for people to hang out in? And I just want to make sure we're all on the same page, including the public, that based on what I've seen with this, it does include a lot of the areas. But if it doesn't include something, my question would be, what is a way, can we be better in a way to collect data to have what's missing? Because it seems like a lot of people are raising their hand going, well, I don't see this and I don't see this. And I got an email from somebody and it's a lot of business related stuff. And I said, well, how does this not fit into the small business program? Because everything that they listed in their list would be something a small business would apply for a grant to help their business get off the ground. So just to make sure we're all on the same page and at the same time helping us improve and what we could do to get the things you don't see listed, the need you see that you think, the need that you understand is in District 1 that we need to have on here. That's part of this process, as I understand, if I'm correct, right? So I'd love to hear what's missing.
Okay, and I appreciate that, I really do. However, at this, you know, at this part of the game, we're kind of behind the eight ball because we've already submitted the first run, which is 41 million, towards the total of 117. And this has to be in by March 19th. So naturally, we're kind of behind the eight ball in this one, but going forward. But some of my reasons for having the question of the 0.5% being directly, you know, directly impacting my district, it we have, and I'm going to give you, for instance, and I need to give this disclaimer while I'm doing that. It's not to pick on not one specific area or anything. I'm all about Terrebonne Parish, more so District 1 at the forefront, Terrebonne Parish as a whole. But we are giving millions of dollars to downtown facade, but then we're giving direct grants, millions of dollars there for direct grants to downtown, right? Maybe I'm seeing that wrong or I'm misunderstanding it in some fashion, or maybe it's just the verbiage that's misleading, like you guys suggested a minute ago. But in that, there's and I'll sit down with anyone any day to kind of shoot out there the things that I'd like to see in my district. But it's not represented here, and that's my concern right now. It's not represented here. 0.5%. And we just bought a building downtown Homa. We have this building here that we have staff, we have employees that work out of this building as well. Now, for housing and human services, you mentioned that they do excellent. They do an excellent job. They service a lot of people within my district, and I can really appreciate all they do. But $4 million is to buy them a building to house them. And it's things like that that I see that's kind of confusing. And I mean, maybe it's just one of those things where I need to sit down with someone that can give me some clarity so I can understand better. Who wants to go first? Noah, Jason, go ahead, sir.
So again, correct me, because I got inaugurated on the 4th. We had one due on the 8th. But I feel like I've been having a conversation about, since I came in on the 4th, about this whole process, like public meetings. And so to say that we're behind the eight ball, we've had, from my experience, January the 4th until now, which is 2 months, to go through and say, this is missing, we need to add this. When it comes to the downtown revenue, there's facade improvements. And then outside of that, the only thing downtown, which I'll be honest, I pulled off of my list to put another project in its place. But again, we're trying to do a collective effort of all this because I felt there were more important needs than downtown boardwalk. So from what I've seen of what I'd like to do, I pulled the downtown boardwalk because downtown has facades. I didn't want downtown to have facades and boardwalk, right? But again, going back to the 0.5, I do believe that's misleading because when I look at the community centers resilience hubs, that's $6 million right there. Based on, again, going back to the wastewater study, there was a conversation about OCD not wanting community centers in here. And we put it in here because of the feedback that we received from our residents saying they really believe in community centers. So we stuck community centers in here. And if it comes that we do a study with community centers like we do with wastewater and stormwater, and there isn't a community center in District 1 where you need one, that would be a priority to put a community center in District 1 where it's needed based on the study, but starting with community centers and $6 million. So same thing with small business grants. It's not downtown small business grants, it's small business grants. And like Chris was mentioning, those that apply for the small business grant have to qualify for the small business grant based on the low moderate income qualifications. So anybody that receives this revenue when it comes to something like small business is going to have to be qualified, and somebody that has a business and is well off won't qualify for that small business grant. So it should go directly to the areas that need it based on the requirements of this process. So I just wanted to clarify a few things there.
Thank you, sir. And I don't want to give the perception that I don't want to be misleading. Specifically, when I say 1.5%, I'm saying what's factual, what's available for me to look at. I can't say that any of those other projects will be direct impact of District 1, and that's what I was suggesting, the Head Start classroom or rooms at a total of $700,000, that's directly impacting District 1. I don't want, I don't want us to think that I'm trying to mislead anyone in any fashion, but it's just the numbers that I get from what's in front of me, and the grants, what have you, and all the other things that are in here. It's just a lot of big numbers and one very little bitty number that's out there, and I know that's my number. And hopefully, we can get that, of course. So with that being said, I'll yield to the rest of the council. Thanks, Ms. Bergeron. Mr. Babin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, it's a daunting task that you guys have, okay? We come up with a lot of good ideas. I believe that y'all know the system a lot better than we do. Candace has been doing this a long time, so has Chris. I think you're gonna do it to the fairest, if there's such a word to use here, fairest way possible, okay? So again, I applaud you, what you guys are doing. We all want everything for our own districts, and I think you're gonna be fair. Mr. Pledger, just to correct one thing, and maybe I misunderstood you. You said you lost things in District 1. Well, I lost to District 1, all of Industrial Boulevard, which is the port, Thomas C., Chabot Hospital, and all of the industry on Thompson Road to your district. So with redistricting, we move a lot of things around. So I just wanted to mention that to you. Thank you.
Mr. Babin, Mr. Champagne.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. So how hard or time consuming would it be to quantify what the impact to each district? And if it is too much work, but because I don't want you to do a plan and then we're gonna submit and then the state's gonna say, we're changing the plan on you and you did all this work. Does that make sense? So and then secondly, when do we, if we submit the plan, they say maybe community centers can't be in it, we can readjust the plan, right? And so we're gonna have input on that part too, okay?
Go ahead.
I turned it off. To answer your first question, and my brain just went completely blank. Remind me again what it was? Oh, right. Who benefit? Okay. So part of this recovery plan proposal that we have to submit does have to identify who the beneficiaries are. So I can't promise you that we would have it before March 19th, but it will be part of that plan that we're submitting. If you look at our first allocation plan that's on the website, it has that detail. So it'll give you an idea of what we will be putting together.
Thank you, Ms. Candace. I'm gonna get Mr. Leverett. Go ahead, Mr. Leverett.
Thank you, sir. I do want to talk about, we are a little bit late, me and Jason, and you guys here, but Candace and Chris and the whole team have been working very hard on this for a while. It's been very apparent to us. They put a lot of thought in it. It is dancing a line between, taking a shotgun approach and try to serve as many people as possible, and also to give enough detail to that one of these projects does get, approved, or all of them get approved. If I activate the bayous, going back to that, we all have bayous in our district, I think, right? Bayou Dularge in District 1 is terrible where you're at, right, in your district. That should qualify to me for dredging, for sewage, for all those different things to help your community in that area, right? So the idea is to take a shotgun approach from what I gathered from being here for the past couple of months, but when we get to that next level, to drill down on how this helps individual communities and districts.
Thank you, Ms. Leverett. Mr. Harding?
Yes, and I think to use dredging and kayaking in the same sentence, and I get what Mr. Bergeron was saying. I guess the kayaking would be considered as a rider to something that's more important. And I want to go to a point in reference to these loans, and that's going out throughout Terrebonne Parish. And I understand that, and everybody wants something for them, but I think we all take the approach, rather honestly, for all of Terrebonne. Miss Candace, the project that we have over there off East Street, I think it's Parkway Place. And we offer how much for first-time home owners? 35,000, 40,000. Well, it's just a small point, and then in the ballpark of 35,000 and 35,000, 40,000. I'm sorry.
Doe Housing and Human Services Director. Mr. Harding, we no longer have a first-time home buyer program. All the housing in Parkwood Place are now rentals.
Now rentals. Okay. Okay. So the point I'm trying to get at with these some of these applications, and I'm glad you're here and you were here in reference to that. What was the biggest problem about those first-time home owners to get those that?
Initially, it was, I guess, finding the right fit because you have to be of a certain income, which is low, with a certain credit score. And sometimes it's hard to put those two together. And then when you couple that with insurance rates now, it's very difficult to make a house affordable with $35,000 down.
All right. Yeah. So, and well, and I appreciate your presence and I appreciate the answer. And you answering that question. So it goes back to that we're going out within the parish and we're saying low to moderate income and underserved area. And then this lady right here, she actually said there's a problem in a certain area, in a certain sector of people that's underserved and low to moderate income, that they will have a problem even though the money is there. I don't want you to answer that question. You're an employee. And it's only to the assumption for the people that are here is to understand, yeah, we can actually say we're offering money, but then how many people would qualify to actually get these loans? So, you know, and me in my position, I would try to augment and not to give nobody a hand out. And like Jason says, you want to give people a hand up, not a hand out. So even though we're doing that, and then the other thing about that, the other factor about it is where are we doing it at? So those people that qualify would not really want to go perhaps in that particular area, even though they might be underserved or low to moderate income. So we are territorial, not only territorial, we segregate ourselves in many ways, religion and everything else. So going forward, we should actually use that as a part of our formulas is the capability of those people being able to not only apply for these grants, but then actually to get them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Ms. Badger?
Yeah, just a couple things, and I just want to confirm with Chris. LMI is based on census 2020. So if we can imagine that the amount of people that became LMI post-IDA. So when you look at how the data gets adjusted and updated, you know, there could be a possibility to serve a much larger area with the fact that post-IDA more people are in that situation. And the other thing I'd love to add here, and I forgot to say it, but as a guy who recently close-up inspected by a Terrebonne, as I was B-rogging, I want to tell you guys, every time I put my foot down, I felt like I was touching something different. So we definitely need to dredge by a Terrebonne to start, but not, I don't want that to be last. But I highly recommend you guys getting a P-Rog and helping me inspect the bayou next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Badger. All right. Members, vote your machines. Votes 9-0. Item number 17, consider the introduction of an ordinance declaring 4 vehicles from Houma Police Department as surplus and authorizing said items to be disposed of by any legal approved methods and calling a public hearing on March 22nd, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Moved by Mr. Clyde Hamner, second by Mr. Carl Harding. Seeing no discussion, members vote your machines. Vote is 8-0. Item number 18, consider the introduction of an ordinance to amend the 2024 adopted operating budget and 5-year capital outlay budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. Item 1, Solid Waste Department, $450,000. Item number 2, Hollywood Road Roundabout, $1,825,000. Item number 3, American Rescue Plan, $920,000. Item number 4, Homeland Police Department, Edward Bryan Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, $17,578, and calling a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, March 27th, 2024 at 6:30 PM. Moved by Mr. Danny Babin, second by Ms. Kim Chauvin. Seeing no discussion, members vote your machines. The vote is 9-0. Motion to adjourn by Mr. Danny Babin, second by Mr. Carl Harding. Good evening.
Very productive. No, you're good.
Okay. Tammy, we good? Okay. Notice to the public, if you wish to address the council, complete the public wishing to address the council form located on either end of the counter and give it to either the chairman or the council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. All comments must be addressed to the council as a whole. Addressing individual council members or staff is not allowed. Speakers should be courteous in their choice of words and actions and comments and shall be limited to the issues and cannot involve individuals or staff-related matters. Thank you. All cell phones and electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of this meeting. I'd like to call the meeting of the Public Service Committee to order, and we'll have a pledge and a prayer by Mr. Champagne. I want to come on.
All right, I'll just go. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that might affect the residents of Terrebonne Parish. We ask these things in your name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You probably didn't have me hitting your button, that's why it didn't come on. All right, we'll have a roll call. Ms. Charlie?
Mr. Champagne, Mr. Hamner, Mr. Babin,
Here.
Ms. Chauvin, Mr. Trustclair, Mr. Pledger, Mr. Harding, Mr. Voisin, Mr. Amity. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you, Mr. Charlie. Item 1, resolution providing approval of amendment number 4 to the engineering agreement for parish project number 19-BRG-25 Hollywood Road Extension Bridge Project, Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana. Moved by Mr. Harding. Second by Mr. Hamner. Seeing no lights, all in favor? Well, excuse me, vote your machines. Yeah, flashback. He doesn't show up on here. Okay.
Yeah, that one here too.
Okay, vote is 9-0. Thank you very much. That's in my council district. Item 2, resolution authorizing the execution of change order number 5 for the construction agreement for parish project number 14-DRA-05 West Side Alma Street Drainage improvements, Maria to Alma, Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana. Moved by Mr. Hamner.
No, he seconded.
Moved by Mr. Champagne, second by Mr. Hamner, or vice versa. We'll take either one. We have a light, Mr. Harding.
Yeah, Mr. Babin is the chairman of this particular committee, Public Service Committee. I had a question, and I'm a strong believer that, you know, if you chair a committee and you can actually help your colleagues, I think it would actually lesser the conversation. So I called him, he called Noel, and Noel gave him the answer. And by the time I got here, I had a question about that. My question has been satisfied, and I appreciate Mr. Babin doing that for me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Hit your light off. Bob, mute. There you go. Thank you, Mr. Harding. Did we vote on that? We didn't vote. Clayton?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could just get just an explanation. I read the backup, but I'm not clear on, you know, the change order. Like, could somebody explain that to me in layman's terms?
Ms. Candace, would you,
This particular one, I'm pulling it up so that way I can see what we're looking at. We had gone out for bid for the construction for this West Side Boulevard, Alma Street drainage. And this one had several delays because of some weather, several delays because of some materials. So because of that and because of the increase in materials after the contract had been bid out, we had several change orders. This one in particular is just an increase of $9,267, and actually no days changed in here. So we've done that. So this is the Fifth Amendment. So through all of that, that's what it's done. This is to balance the final contract quantities. So we're wrapping it up. You might possibly see one more change order. That would be a final balance one. But it's just to complete it and get it all in place. This is also a project that we have some FEMA and capital outlay money for, so we want to make sure that we're following all those requirements.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I was curious because I did know that there was some hiccups on that project, like gas related, things like that. So I didn't know if that might have been, you know, and I wasn't sure if that was contract a malfunction that caused that and if we should be eating that or what the case was. And I know some of the public's curious about that as well. So thank you.
Mr. Leroy?
Yes, sir. I'm looking at the change order in the backup. It looks like it's sand and removal of sidewalks and replacement of sidewalks. So specifically, that's what it is, looks like.
Thank you, Mr. Leroy. Is that it, Mr. Voisin? Yes, sir. Thank you. Seeing no other lights, council members, vote your machines. Still new. Yeah, I know. The vote's 9-0. Item 3, resolution ratifying the appointment of the firm YKH Consulting to provide professional services for the Bayer Country Sports Park Soccer Field Light Project and authorizing the execution of an agreement for these services.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hamner. Second by Mr. Champagne. Ms. Chauvin.
Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering, what's the cost on this? Because it says like for the light, the soccer field light project, do they have a cost on it?
Who's gonna, okay, Noah, all right.
It's around $330,000.
For the lights and the agreement.
And that's money that was already budgeted for that project, correct?
Thank you, Ms. Chauvin, is that?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Harding? Yeah. All right, seeing no further lights, Councilman, vote your machines. Vote is 9-0. Item 4, consider the introduction of an ordinance to authorize the acquisition of property, sites, and/or servitudes required for the Country Estates Bridge Replacement Project, LADOTD project number H.013.199 authorize the parish president to execute any and all documents necessary to acquire sites, properties, and/or servitudes for the said purpose, to authorize the parish legal staff to commence expropriation proceedings in the event the sites, properties, and/or servitudes cannot be obtained conventionally, to declare that the taking, if necessary, is necessary and useful for the benefit of the public, and to provide for other matters relative thereto, and call a public hearing on said matter Wednesday, March 27th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Moved by Mr. Amade, second by Mr. Voisin. Mr. Trosclair?
Yes, I have a question. If this is the LEDOTD project, why is the parish doing land acquisitions?
Press your light for me.
Yes, sir. So the parish has to acquire the property rights. LADOTD will not acquire the property rights for the project. We have a consulting firm, Jack Plazos, and is the project engineer on this project. They're handling, reaching out to the landowners, but it's the parish that's required to acquire the property rights for it, servitudes.
Okay, is that something that we do on all DOTD projects?
Well, it's an
We didn't-
LADOTD project because of funding. So the LADOTD is funding the project, but it's going through the parish for the property acquisition. And because the funding is in place through LADOTD, the parish has to follow specific provisions and recording, contact with all of the property owners. You'll see some forms that Mr. Jack Plazon is going to have to fill out along the way about who he contacted, what they talked about, what was the resolution of the discussion. So when they talk about LADOTD, it really means that LADOTD regulations have to be put in place because they're funding the project.
So the parish is to be the actual ones to contract it out?
Yes.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Ms. Chauvin?
Yeah, I was just gonna tell you, the Woodrow Canal Bridge, the state is doing that part, so that's why I'm a little confused with it, because I know when they do the Woodrow Canal,
In all fairness, this road is a parish road. The
that,
Highway 56
thank
is a
you,
state road.
thank you for declaring that.
All right, seeing no further lights, vote your machines, please. Votes 9-0. Item 5, consider the introduction of an ordinance to authorize the relocation of a Terrebonne Parish precinct polling location for the election of July 17th through 19th, 2024, and all subsequent elections, and call a public hearing on Wednesday, March 27th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Moved by Mr. Harding, second by Ms. Chauvin. At one light, Mr. Harding.
Let it be known that one of the reasons why this polling place is being moved is the fact that the building is no longer to be used, so they had to find another place location.
Yeah, this is the Honduras school, and actually I got with Miss Teresa Robichaud a good bit on this one. It's definitely difficult to find polling places today that fit the criteria from all kind of aspects, parking, size, and availability. So it's getting tougher and tougher all the time. Seeing no lights, vote your machines. Votes 9-0. Motion passes. Item 6, consider the introduction of an ordinance to authorize the parish president or administration to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement with the state of Louisiana Office of Lands and execute necessary documents for the use of certain water bottoms, and call a public hearing on Wednesday, March 27th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Moved by Mr. Amade, second by Ms. Chauvin. Mr. Harding.
For the record, where's this located at? Just for the record, I found out, but didn't for the record.
Mr. Pulaski.
Yeah, this is Homa Heights Park, which is on the south bank of Bayou Terrebonne on the east side under the Twin Spans.
Thank you.
right, Ms. Neal?
Mr. Pulaski covered it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pulaski, you put it back on, I turned it off, okay. Seeing no lights, vote your machines. Votes 9-0, motion passes. Item 7, discussion and possible action relative to road lighting and road striping concerns in Terrebonne Parish. Mr. Harding and Mr. Voisin. Who's gonna, Mr. Harding? All right, Mr. Harding.
One thing about traveling through the parish, you don't have to listen to anyone, and no one ever has to ask you any questions. Not only in my district, but most importantly, we look at Terrebonne as a whole. And for the sake of everything, we're looking at the safety of people. And I'm just going to pick out a couple locations and a couple reasoning for this, because we have some parish roads and we have some state roads, highways, that have poor lighting. And we want to bring this issue back up again. If you ever go through my district, near Terrebonne High School, Vanderbilt, going into Martin Luther King, it's poor lighting. The businesses are far off the road. Therefore, there's not enough lighting in that particular area. So we're just using that where I think the people of this parish, not only just the people that's living on Prince Collins or out in mobile estates with different electrical problems in reference to lighting. So far as the city of Homer, Entergy, and Sleeker. So we want to create a discussion, because I'm pretty sure other folk have problems within their district in lightings. But then more specifically, I would like to see us come together and have better lighting on the most popular and the highly traveled Martin Luther King. We don't even have sidewalks there either. The other factor, there are some areas within the bayou communities in our boroughs that we actually have, but we don't have sufficient lighting. We can use the lighting off the people's vehicles to actually have the proper striping. I know that in this plan that we just finished talking about before, we just want to look at our striping and making sure that some of these dangerous curves that we have going into these curves and coming out of these curves, we have the lighting in reference to that. I talked to Mr. Voisin in reference to both of these issues, striping and the lighting. And so we decided to bring this forward, because we're talking about so many things that are around, but then there's a safety factor that we actually have.
That's it. Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Voisin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, it's the lighting issue. It's basically become a safety issue, you know, in the neighborhoods and things of that nature. Particularly with the increase in crime and things of that nature. You know, criminals sometimes are pretty smart. You know, they know how to identify those dark areas and things of that nature. And they're utilizing that in some of these areas, particularly in my district. And, you know, I think I've kind of done my due diligence. I've identified spots, addresses connected to those spots. I've done it verbally. I've done it through text and email to different department heads with energy. And I've also, when that didn't work, I downloaded the app and drove the neighborhood after dark, identified the lights that were out, stopped by the light, plugged it in, put all the information, and sent it. Probably did 35 of them. Contacted them, let them know that I did that on the app. And so that was like the third time reporting. What kind of baffles me, and it's energy. You know, energy is what I mostly have in my district. It's all energy. So what kind of baffles me is if I'm a electrical provider, I mean, that's kind of my business, right? If I got lights that's not burning, that's revenue I'm missing. I got a problem with that if I'm in that business, right? So that's where I'm a little disconnected. I don't get it, because it seems like I should see driving through Terrebonne. I mean, heck, I should run at least one a week where I see them repairing or fixing a pole or a light or something. And I mean, y'all might see it. I don't see it nowhere that I go. So it's a little frustrating, particularly with my constituents, right? These neighborhoods. They've been fairly patient, because, most of this is from Ida, which I'm sure y'all aware of, and y'all just coming in now. But I, I'm just sharing the frustration that a lot of the constituents in District 3 and of course other districts, right? People I know. And speaking with some of the council members, they have some of the same frustrations going on in their district. So I think it's an issue that maybe we should have some conversations with Entergy, because it just don't make sense to me. It seemed like if anybody had urgency, it would be them. Let's get them lights burning so we can get that revenue. But I might be wrong. And as far as striping, there's a few spots in my district that I've already identified and pointed out some misstriping that was done incorrectly, things of that nature. So we'll see where it goes. But that's about all I had on lighting. I put another topic on for Wednesday night on sewage and drainage, and I invited some of the department heads and all to show up if they saw fit. So thank y'all.
Just before I go to the next person is Kim. Before I go to you, Kim, you're speaking, Clayton, of the lights that are out since the storm, not the installation of new lights in the district. Put your light back on.
Yes.
Primarily.
So primarily because there are completely missing poles since the hurricane that's never been replaced. So there's some of those, and then just they're there, but they just not burning.
Okay.
So those two issues. Not really any new lighting because I don't want to push it. You know, let's fix what we got, and then maybe we can identify some of that later. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to clarify. Okay, Ms. Chauvin?
Okay. In District 8, which is Entergy and City of Homa, I have made 450 reports to Entergy alone. 450. We are missing 30 to 40 poles. I've requested the contract because one of the questions that I had asked was, do they have someone that rides around to do this? And they don't. So we're gonna keep spending taxpayer money to pay for something that we're not receiving. That's a problem for me. So I also asked about the contract, but also the pre-item map, because there was a pre-item map and I think it's all of Terrebonne Parish. So just so that you're aware of that. In that, what my plans were to do were to ride around and figure out how many poles I'm actually missing, because off of their app, so far it's only 30 to 40, but I think it's a lot more. And I think that they have one person, Terrebonne Parish, one lineman, that is on there, because I know they kind of freaked out when I did the first 77, then the next 84, and they called me up to ask me how many more I was going to be doing. I'm like, well, as many as are out, because we're paying a lot of money. Or they didn't even know how much we pay per light. That was one of the things. So that's an askance also, to find out how much we're paying per light. And this is just District 8 alone, so I don't know what the percentage is. I know that before coming on, that Entergy had been here, from my understanding, and that there was an askance of, was it a quarterly report? A quarterly
Yes.
report
Yes.
from Entergy. And so that is going to be something that I would like to see Entergy come to the table. And, that quarterly report should be with us every quarter. And we're not evidently receiving them because no one else has said that they have that on that part. I have seen the lineman working in my district, getting some done, and then he has to go to other districts. So it's just that one, and he is diligently working at it, but I'm thinking maybe they need more people to go ahead and finish up all this, because 450 in one district is a lot. So I'm assuming you have, if you have just Entergy, you may have just as many as I have. So I think we're gonna have to pull this in, rein it in, and bring that to task, because 450 is just kind of inexcusable. And so I am asking for updates. The other part of it is the striping. I already bought the paint. I'm coming in. I'm strapping David to the back of his truck, and he's gonna be doing a little painting. I already told him he can get ready. I have a lot of elderly people that cannot see the lines on the road, and I mean, daylight savings time came, so it's a good cool beat for them, because now they can go to church and not have to worry about being unsafe. So we have some issues on that, and I don't know where you get the money from to do these things. At the end of the day, I'm just gonna go get the paint, because I'm a person, like, I'm impatient on waiting. We're gonna paint. Pretty much I wanted to do the whole glow in the dark, but that doesn't work evidently in our state. They don't allow that, which makes more sense to me, but here we are. And the other askings that I have is, do we have a striping machine? Is somebody gonna teach me how to use it? So we don't have a striping machine. Oh, well, David, get ready.
Ms. Chauvin, I know,
He will be on the back of that truck, I'm telling you.
you do know that we have certain rules and regulations that we have to apply even in the type of paint that has to be bought, but I
Yep.
appreciate it. And listen, no pun intended, but either, Mr. Lered or Ms. Malden, could you shed a little light on how we pay for, and how we are charged for lights that are out, or not charged for lights that are out? You wanna go first, Ms. Candace?
Sir. So we do have the road lighting districts that millage is collected, and that is what we use for the lights that are street lights. I did have a conversation with Miss Paula Rome this morning about all of this. They have what they refer to as a burn off rate, and it's 10%. So out of their 10% of lights, out of their full amount of lights, they're allowed 10% off. I asked her the question, well, how do you know if a light is off today or if it's been off 2 months or whatever? And unfortunately, these are not the smart lights, and they don't have the meters like you do at your home, so that's kind of unknown. So she did tell me that they are currently working on actually walking all of the streets to get a better map. And I know you mentioned a pre-item map, so I guess this would be our post-item map of where a pole used to be. Has it been replaced? Has it not been replaced? And that will help with this process of looking at all of this. We did receive 2 big credits in all of our road lighting districts from Entergy right after Hurricane Ida. I think it was one in late 2021 and one sometime in 2022. We did not receive, as far as I can tell and as far as she can tell, anything in 2023. But she was going to discuss that with the higher ups. She also asked to let me to tell y'all if y'all would like to call her to do these reportings. She's always available. She's available to come to meetings or to set up some meetings. But she did say that once they have this new map set up, a lot of things are going to be a little bit easier. And unfortunately, that's just taking a very long time.
Thank you, Ms. Malden. Mr. Lered?
First, I just want to commend y'all effort on getting out there and taking the bull by the horns. Everybody that's going to walk these lights, because I, like you, do not like hearing it's somebody else's problem. And this has been a thorn in our side since we got here. It's been a priority since we got here, not only the lights, but the striping. We're currently looking at funding opportunities for that. Unfortunately, we don't have all the money in the world, but we will find it. We're actively working on it. It's a high priority, and we're working on building better relationships with all of our partners, Energy, DOTD, everybody that we rely on to make sure things are fixed. We want to make sure that disconnect is repaired, literally and figuratively, so we can get everything lit up and looking good.
Thank you, Mr. Lered. Mr. Hamner?
No, I just want to ask Kim, is once they finished over in her district, if you come help, you and David come help me in my district. But that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Hamner. Mr. Amade?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Candace, you didn't answer part of her question. What are we paying per light?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. I don't know though.
I thought it was somewhere around $13 when they explained it to us before.
Yeah.
So I will get the answer for you tomorrow, though. I should have had it for today. I'm sorry. It also depends on what type of bulb is in the light. So that's why it's sometimes hard to give you an answer, but there is a certain, depending on the bulb, per pole, there is a rate that we pay. And I do want to say it's like 12 something, 13 something, but I will get y'all an answer on that.
And along with that, we have the Ida streetlight repair contract. And I thank Mr. Lered for connecting me with someone with Raw Engineers that was able to help me with that. They had Energy was doing pole replacements before Ida for their hardening. And then now, and we're reporting lights that were fixed through the Ida project that are now not functioning for various reasons. So I applaud everybody's effort because we all know how Entergy can be. I applaud Sleek and City of Homa utilities because they've been very responsive. So Ms. Paula, watch out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amity. Yeah, and along those lines, 95% of my constituents in District 7 are on Sleeker, and I'm not saying that Sleeker is perfect, but they do an excellent job. They do have a crew that goes out every 3 months at nighttime to check lights. City of Houma does the exact same thing. So with that being said, Ms. Chauvin?
So my question, and Miss Paula has been amazing. She really has. But one of the things that you talked about is having a credit. I would request to know what that was for District 8, to know what we had at that point. And my other question is, if you don't know how many lights are out, how do you know which light bulbs you're using? Do they have an answer? Okay. And the Ida Street, the street light repair, is that still functional? You said that there was Mr. Amade had talked about it.
Wait, I'm
Is that
waiting to see
still?
who's gonna put their light on the answer. All right, Mr. Lerat?
If I'm not mistaken, that's decorative lights, right? And that was a task given
Yeah.
to Royal Engineering for
Okay,
an auto
so
repair.
that's not,
Different
that's not
thing, different
for,
thing.
for us. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lerat.
I did let Entergy know, just for all of our sake, that the app does not work well. The light poles do not match up where the light poles actually are. So when I went to the police jury thing, the police jury conference, I actually met up with one of the guys with the app and told him that they really do need to go back and fix it. And maybe through the mapping of it. But I think that we really do need to look, those of us who have Entergy in our district, really need to look at that pre-item map compared to what they're gonna put out there. You're gonna find what you're missing on that, just looking at the two. So I'm very, I guess I want to know, like, what bulbs, how do you know that if you don't know which lights are out? And in the contract, we need to figure out if they're supposed to have someone, figuring it, like doing the right around. I would think that since it's you're making money, that you would have someone to do this and not, not council people or people throughout the parish. So just, for instance.
Thank you, Ms. Chauvin. Mr. Voisin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to say that, Paula, as far as accessibility, she's been awesome. I just have a feeling, she'd like to help, but, somewhere above her, there's a roadblock or something. Uh, I'm sure the administration's contact is, or can be above Paula, correct, with Entergy?
Yes.
I would assume that.
Yeah. Mr. Bergeron?
So we've had conversations with that one and the one above and the one above and the one above, and which leads me to my next point I wanted to talk about is that, at the end of the day, the Public Service Commission is the entity that regulates Entergy, right? So we're asking some of these questions, and it's been brought on, Ms. Kim doing her stuff. It's stuff that, the thousands of things we're working on post Ida. It was one of the things on the list. We just didn't get to it yet, I guess you could say. But at some point, should we have to get to it, right? So so we're asking these questions, at some point, maybe Public Service Commissioner gets involved. I wouldn't be surprised that we're not the only parish dealing with this problem. So, this could be a greater issue and knowing from a state level, I think they've been having conversations with energy. So just wanted to share that PSC is the governing body of this whole deal. And, I know, look, I go back to Ida being an unprecedented event. And through this process, I think we're all getting better at what we do, what we provide, things being hardened to be more resilient. So just wanted to share that info.
Thank you, Mr. Bergeron. Ms. Clayton, you finished. Mr. Amade?
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to
Oh, I'm
point
sorry.
out
I'll put you back on. Put your light on.
on the parish website under the GIS maps, you can go on that map and you can select through the legend streetlights. Again, they're not exactly perfect. Most of them are correct, but you'll find something missing or on the wrong side of the street. But that overlays City of Homa, Sleeka, and Entergy. If you want to look at where, when that was created, where those poles were supposed to be, that might be a useful tool for you. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Wazan? I'm
Thank you,
sorry,
Mr.
I
Chair.
inadvertently turned your light off, all right?
I appreciate it. I wanted to say thank you, Mr. Bergeron, for sharing that with us. And, the conversation that y'all had about the maps, and things of that nature, I can tell you the map on the app, there was not one spot that wasn't correct or on the map, on the app from Entergy. So of course, that might not be for the entire parish, but the area that I covered, there wasn't one that was listed that shouldn't have been there, and there wasn't one that wasn't listed that wasn't there, if that makes sense. So they all matched. Everything matched the app to a T. The problem is a lot of the ones that match, they either weren't there completely, gone, or not burning. And it's like I said, once again, there's got to be some way for us to hold our feet to the fire from a public safety standpoint. Once we start dealing with public safety issues, I'm sure y'all will agree 100%, and I know y'all do. But we got to find some way to hold their feet to the fire and put a little pressure on them. And I'm sure we got some kind of leverage with them people. I would assume with the amount of money that they make. But I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
You sure? I don't want to turn your light off again, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Trosclair?
Okay, I just want to kind of bring everybody up to speed. I mean, we've got a lot of new councilmen, new administration. Several years ago, I can't remember how many years ago it was, but the former parish president actually enlisted the Houma PD to ride the parish and take account of every light that was out. And Candace can maybe refresh my memory. I want to say it was something like 12 or 17,000 lights were out. It was a bunch, and out of those, the vast majority was energy. So we actually had energy, Sleeka, city people. We had the Public Service Commissioner's office here at a meeting. And naturally, for the most part, the city of Houma jumped on their issues, got it cleared out. Sleeka did the same thing, did exactly what they said they were going to do. Energy's probably been back 2 or 3 different meetings since we've had them here. And we have contacted the Public Service Commissions several times regarding it. And they, Energy gave us a lot of lip service. They were gonna put a program together and stay on top of it, which didn't happen. We asked Ms. Chauvin, several of us asked Energy to do just what you're asking, to put someone to do a periodic ride through. And they pretty much told us that they didn't think they needed to do that. And so they haven't done it. you know, I don't know what we can do. I know we've tried to do a lot in previous councils. And, you know, we tried pretty much everything that was stated here tonight was tried. I think we need to beat up on them again and try to get them here every week if we have to. But it seems like, and Clayton, they don't care about our money. They want to do what they want to do. You know, we're small compared to a lot of other metropolitan areas that they service. But, you know, our money is just as good as anybody else's money. But, and I agree with you, but you know, I think, I'd like to see administration, you know, get on them and stay on them again, get them here. You know, they come here, they give us a lot of good lip service, but it doesn't seem like they do a lot of follow through on it. And that's pretty much, but that's happened. Everything that was mentioned here tonight has taken place already, and we had got very little results from energy. Sleek and city pretty much took care of the things, but energy hasn't. Thank you.
Good point, Mr. Trosclair. Thank you. Mr. Lee.
So, like Mr. John said, we have a GIS system that does have all the lights. It is not perfect. One of the things we want to do, and that's what we're working on right now, is revamping our GIS system completely and the department so that we can get all of these in like a very good detailed list, an interactive map, so that when we do get energy in here or Sleek or whoever else, when another something like this happens again, that we have a good system that'll have pinpoint data with this is your light, this is a picture of it, here's a geotag location of it, here's how long it's been here. It's just gonna take us time to get that system up and running. We, like I said, we're doing some restructuring our GIS department right now, and then we'll get on the system itself. And then hopefully within the next 6 months or so, we can get started so that when we get energy in here, we can sit them down and it's not us maybe just looking at a sheet of paper or anything. It's looking at a full-fledged, 100% complete and accurate system that has every light that belongs to them to look at right then and there. And at least that way there's a little less of argument of what belongs to them or what doesn't and where lights should or shouldn't be.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Mr. Harding.
As I conclude, between the city of Homer, Sleeker, and Entergy, it is, from my knowledge that I've gathered, they collect money differently for the services that they provide. I'm not gonna call in anybody's name, but I think one of the three passed their costs on to the people. So we wanna do this, but when we make this approach, I don't want the people that's getting these services from any particular part of this to get the cost of it, because we're getting paid anywhere from 12 to, they're getting paid anywhere from $12 to $17 per pole, whether it's decorative, whether they have LEDs or not. So we want to be mindful in our discussion is protect the interests of the people too. They hired on, they got a contract to provide services. I don't think they should pass off their expenses to our people when we already have an agreement with prices. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Pledger.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm gonna make it easy. I'm gonna make it easy for all of us. How about we as a parish in our utilities department, because the problem I have is not energy, it's not Sleeka, and I think Mr. Lee Reds know where I'm about to go with this. Let's use District 1 as an example. I need 4 lights, camera, and the rest of the lights turned on in Odemont Park that me and the police department have talked about. I've made a walkthrough with one of our guys in our department, and let's be an example. Let's show them how to do it. And this is not energy, not Sleeka, City of Houma, Odemont Park, District 1, 4 lights. Ms. Kim asked about lights. I know exactly what kind of lights I like to see out there, 1,000-watt LED. And that comes on recommendation from utilities department because that's going to give us the most looms and it's going to achieve what we're looking to do out there, helping our police department out in the event of. Not only that, it will give homeowners in that right along that butt up against that park That'll give them some visibility to see if in fact something's going on outside of the coyotes that they might see back there here and there. So, District 1, Odemo Park, lights, City of Homa, we're done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pledger. And from the chair, the people that are watching tonight, people in the audience here, you know, we may be redundant here. You may have heard the same thing 2 weeks ago. I hope you realize that the position and the responsibility of this council is to pass legislation and administration carries it out. But I hope you see the passion of everybody up here, because if we do repeat ourselves on it, it's because we want to drive it in, simple and pure. But our job is also to educate the public. And I think we're doing that. I think we're trying to accomplish that, to letting everyone know exactly how important each one of these items are when we discuss them. I mean, we've been here for 2 hours. We still have another committee, but that doesn't matter. We're gonna be here as long as it takes to get the job done. So I appreciate everybody's comments. I appreciate administration. We do have 4 new council people. We do have a new administration, but I want the general public to know that everybody is working in sync together and everybody is getting up to speed, so to speak. So again, I appreciate all the conversation, and on this particular item, there is no discussion, I mean, there's no vote necessary. So
Good.
motion to
Motion to adjourn.
by Mr. Voisin, second by Mr. Harding. Vote your machines, please.
Good one.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Mr. Voisin, you're gonna have to keep your tone down, I'm sorry.
I thought you had turned my speak off.
Y'all ready to press my buttons?
Yeah, Clyde has some sharp shoes on tonight too.
Not as good as yours. Not as good as yours. All right, I'm on. Okay, notice to the public, if you wish to address the council, please complete the public wishing to address the council form located on either end of the corner or counter and give it to either chairman or the council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. All comments must be addressed to the council as a whole. Addressing individual council members or staff is not allowed. Speakers should be courteous in their choice of words, and actions and comments shall be limited to the issue and cannot involve individuals or staff-related matters. Thank you. All cell phones and electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. We'll now call the meeting to order with the invocation and pledge led by Mr. Brian Pledger. There you go.
Heavenly Father, we ask that you give us wisdom, guidance, understanding as we make decisions for the people of Terrebonne Parish. We ask that you bless this nation, this state, and Terrebonne Parish. These and many other blessings we ask in your darling Son Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll now have roll call.
Mr. Shampai, Mr. Hamner,
Here.
Babin, Ms. Chauvin, Mr. Trustclair, Mr. Pledger, Mr. Harding, Mr. Voisin, Mr. Amity. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you. Item 1, approve the co-sponsorship request for the Crew of Aquarius for the Crew of Aquarius Easter Extravaganza to be held March 23rd, 2024 from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the downtown Homa Courthouse Square. Moved by Mr. Babin. Second by Mr. Amity. Ms. Chauvin?
Just one question. And I had asked Candace, what is the balance before going on to this? Do you keep a balance of all co-sponsorships? And it's not just about this one, it's just each time we do this. Is there a balance each time that we would know about?
So we don't have a balance because the timing of things, because this one actually all hit a lot sooner than when y'all are approving it. Sometimes we approve it like 3 or 4 months before it actually hits, so that's where it gets
Okay.
confused. But I will tell you, we do have a total of a $20,000 budget for this. But remember, your co-sponsorships are only up to $600.
Okay.
So we'll pay for insurance and we'll pay for security and all of that. And anything over 600, we actually bill that.
Shoot, I missed that. I should have done it for mine.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
So I can't, I could give you a budget, but it wouldn't be reflective of what y'all have approved or not approved.
It's all good. Thank you.
Okay, members, vote your machines. Do that too. Okay, we have nine yeas. Item 2, approve the co-sponsorship from Keep Terrebonne Beautiful for the 2024 Privates and Boots Festival to be held on April 27th, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Homa Downtown Marina. Moved by Mr. Champagne, seconded by Ms. Chauvin. No lights, members, vote your machines. Clayton's not here. Yeah, we got 8 yays. Okay, item 3, approve a co-sponsorship from Luminate Homa. You better give me my glasses over there so I can. Oh, here they are. I didn't see them. Approve the co-sponsorship request from Luminate Homa Inc. for the May 4th Be With You Louisiana event to be held on May 4th, 2024 from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Courthouse Square in Rotary Centennial Plaza. Moved by, who was that? Mr. Babin, second by Mr. Champagne. No lights, members, vote your machines. Nine yeas. Item 4, approve the co-sponsor request for the Ladies Cocoa Classic 9th Annual Fishing Tournament. I'm gonna be there. To be held from July 18th to 2024 in Cocodrie. Moved by Ms. Chauvin, seconded by Mr. Babin. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas. All right, approve the co-sponsorship from the U.S. Coast Guard Marine Safety Unit, Homa, for the U.S. Coast Guard MSU Homa Change of Command Ceremony to be held on July 10, 2024 from 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Barry P. Bonvillain Civic Center. Moved by Mr. Babin, seconded by Ms. Chauvin. No lights, members, vote your machines. Item 6, consider the introduction of an ordinance to restructure Chapter 12 of the Terrebonne Parish Code by adopting Section 12-75 through 12-79 to construct barrow pits, and call a public hearing on Wednesday, March 27, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Moved by Mr. Babin. Huh? Kim,
No problem.
who seconded it? Mr. Champagne, and we got Kim Chauvin to speak.
I would like to request that the chairman of the Homa Terrebonne Regional Planning Committee be here, because I know that in going to 2 of their meetings, they had also talked about some of this, and I didn't see it listed in any of the pit issues. I do know that I have a list of questions I'm going to send in, not against having the meeting or the hearing. I just want to be able to ask him a few questions too, being here about the pits, because you have some of these things really close to some of these homes, and I kind of worry about that.
Let's see, who goes?
We have, I don't know how, if it's possible, but we have Mr. Mark Black here. He possibly can help us out or help Ms. Chauvin out on some of those questions, if you want.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Chauvin, we share your concerns about these borrow pits being very close to homes. That's the reason we want to amend Chapter 12 in order to prevent that in the future. And so it does specify minimum distances from property lines, from houses, from roads, from the levees in the parish. That wasn't, laid out before, but now this amendment to the ordinance does that.
Turn it on.
Okay, do you know how many, well, who's gonna make sure all this is kept in track? See, and this is why I'm asking this. I don't begrudge anybody doing the jobs of what they're doing in the pit part, but I do worry when it comes so close to these homes. So I had a worker who had the same thing. He had a pit by him and it was far off. His walls started cracking, his floor started cracking. He had to go get an engineer. Thank God he made enough money to go obtain an engineer. Then he had to go get a lawyer and then he had to go to court. That's worrisome when we have some of these pits. I understand the need for them, I understand what they're doing, but it's also worrisome that you have some by a line of houses. So I do see that you have the footage and everything else, but my concern is who's monitoring and who's making sure that this mud is not falling into the pit and creating where it's going even wider than it was supposed to. And so you have that part. You have how many pits do we have in Terrebonne Parish that are close? I'm not talking about pits that are not close to homes. I'm talking about pits that are close to homes. Those are the worrisome ones for me. Because people live in those homes. I know people that have been living in those same homes since they're young and they're in their 70s and now they're really concerned. And so I wonder how that's going to affect them and who's going to make
It's
sure
not
over
going,
time.
yeah, it's not going to affect the pits that are in existence right now. This is
Okay,
for
for future.
borrow pits that come in for permits after this ordinance goes into effect.
Right.
So there is a provision in section 1276 about safety and damages. This puts the owner of the borrow pit and the contractors on notice that they may be responsible for damages that they cause to adjacent property owners. Okay, but it still is a civil matter.
Right.
Okay, we don't enforce that. That's a civil matter, but it puts them on notice that they may be faced with that if they cause those damages.
Right. And I guess my worry is how many elderly people that are living in my area, how are they going to afford that engineer and that lawyer? So I'm just saying it's something that I know that it's not a concern for you guys. I get that. I understand it, but it's concern for people that are in my district and that are close to it. So I just want to be fair, balanced on that part. So I do have some other questions and I'll email them and we can go back and forth on that part of it, or I'll come in and we can have a discussion with it. Okay.
All right, Mr. Pledger.
Yeah, I don't, just so everyone's aware, Mr. Mark Black, he's director for coastal zone management. But to kind of help you out a little bit, Ms. Chauvin, when I served on the coastal zone board with Mr. Black and the rest of the folks there, this was right before I got off and got elected here. I was on the board, and some of the questions or some of the not so favorable instances, like what you're talking about, what your concerns are, were that's some of the reasons for wanting to make the corrections with the ordinance now to try and circumvent certain things from happening. I have several in my district too as well. I was able to go out and speak with the homeowners, share some of those concerns, and now we're here at this point of trying to make sure going forward we don't have the same issues that that arise again. Just wanted to share that with you guys. Thank you.
Mr. Babin?
Yeah, and along those same lines, Mr. Black came before us 4 or 5 months ago with some proposals, and actually the past council, I don't want to use the term rejected it, but asked Mr. Mark Black to go back and update it and get it a little bit more proficient, so to speak, okay? But the key in this whole situation is the sooner we get something passed, the better protection we have from here going forward. We can't go backwards on it, but we can go from here forward. So we need to digest this over the next 2 weeks to make sure that when it comes before us 2 weeks from now, that we approve what we think is the best thing at that particular time, and then protect the citizens from here going forward. Because we're always gonna need dirt, and and that's going to be a fact of life of where we live. We're always going to be building and raising our levees. So we just want to protect from here. There may be as much dirt taken in the next 10 years as they have in the last 10 years. Who knows? But in any event, this did come before the past council, and we asked for more stringent, I guess would be a best way of putting it. Thank you.
Mr. Bergeron.
I'm good. Martin answered it.
Okay, Mr. Lerat.
I just want to add a little bit of comment. So I grew up around borrow pits. My dad had some. I saw my dad do right by people and follow the rules. Not that there were strict rules in place, but he took efforts to make sure people weren't affected by his work. And then I saw people come in and do cut rate things and cut corners and affect people. So this is a cause that the administration, me in particular, is fully behind. It's not going to remedy things that have already happened, but it's going to take steps in the right direction to make sure things don't happen again that are bad. All right, so Mark worked really hard on this, and I want to commend him on his efforts.
Thank you, Mr. Lerat. And Mr. Pledger.
Last time for me. Also, Ms. Kim, another saving grace for you as well. Anything, it needs to be noted that anything that comes through that's going to affect your district when it comes to borrow pits and things like that, you're going to get a notification from that department, and they'll let you know, hey, do you have any questions or anything like that? And I was so fortunate to have an understanding before, but when I had a question, believe it or not, they put it in a requirement once I was on the council for the person, the applicant who was applying to do something too. So you'll be intricately involved in that.
Go ahead, Ms. Chauvin.
Yeah, thank you for that information. Like I said, I have been attending the Home of Terrebonne Regional Planning Committee or Commission, and I've learned quite a few things in that, and I've also spoken to the chairman. I've spoken to Chris a little bit. I have a plan to go in and meet with him, to talk. Now I'll be going with Martin, talking to him. So I do want to make people aware. Like, I've read this, I've went through it. I do want to understand a good bit more. I do know that we're going to need dirt, for levees and stuff like that. I get it. My concern is, again, to make sure that things are going to be okay for some of the people that are going to live by these things, and that's it. But thank you.
Okay, seeing no more lights, see, we got to vote. Vote your machine.
To choose the right audio apps for you.
Thank you, Siri. I appreciate it. Yeah, Siri's voted for me. Yeah, okay, 9 votes for it. Let's adjourn this thing. All right. We got another one. Okay, number 7. Got Mr. Trosclair.
Yes, I put this, introduce this ordinance to the agenda tonight, and I want to pull it for tonight and possibly resubmit at a later date.
Okay, we pull in item 7, and now we can motion to adjourn. By Mr. Amity, seconded by, Do we need to read it?
You have to read it first.
Oh, I have to read it? Okay, I'll read item 7 that's been pulled. Consider the introduction of an ordinance to amend ordinance number 6429, which provides for the adoption and use of an official seal for the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, March 27th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. That item has been pulled. Motion to adjourn by Mr. Amity, seconded by Mr. Chapon. Vote your machines.
Robbie. All right, we're all live.